The music at the reception was loud enough to cover most conversations, but not enough to drown out my own thoughts. I was leaning on the bar, nursing my second glass of champagne, when I felt someone's eyes on me. I turned, expecting to see a friend or a distant cousin. Instead, it was her. Isla, she stood across the room in that emerald green dress that caught the light every time she moved. She was smiling at Marianne, who was laughing at something Rowan had said, but her gaze flicked to me. It stayed there longer than it should have. Asterisk. Marianne's voice broke the moment. She came up beside me, cheeks flushed from dancing. "You've been hiding all night." "I've been here," I said, lifting my glass. "Strategic position. Good view of the madness." "You're impossible," she laughed, giving my arm a light squeeze. "At least try to enjoy it. It's my wedding." "I'm enjoying it," I replied, but my eyes drifted back to where Isla had been. She wasn't there anymore. Marianne was swept away by another group of guests. I finished my drink, trying to convince myself the look I'd caught was nothing. I was probably reading too much into it. Later, I was helping collect empty glasses. From the tables, when I felt someone pass close behind me, too close. A hand grazed the middle of my back, light and deliberate. I turned sharply. Ella was walking toward the kitchen area with 2 plates in her hands. She glanced over her shoulder and smiled. "Need a hand with those?" I asked, stepping forward. "I think I've got it," she said, her voice smooth. "But thank you." I followed her into the quieter hallway near the kitchen. "You've been busy tonight, keeping myself useful," she said, placing the plates down, avoiding awkward small talk with relatives who keep asking when I'm next. I chuckled. "That's the curse of weddings." She tilted her head. "You've been avoiding the dance floor. Not much of a dancer. Maybe you just haven't had the right partner." Her words hung in the air like they were meant to be tested. Before I could respond, a group of Marianne's friends came in. Isla slipped away toward the dining area. I caught sight of her again during the cake cutting. She was standing opposite me, champagne flute in hand, laughing at something Rowan said. Then her gaze shifted back to me. It wasn't a casual glance. It was focused, searching, like she was reading my reaction. After the toast, Marianne hugged me tight. "Thank you for being here. I know weddings aren't your thing." "I wouldn't miss it," I said. Isla passed by then, her shoulder brushing mine in the crowded space. "Excuse me," she murmured, though she didn't look sorry. Rowan clinked his glass for attention, thanking everyone. As he spoke, I noticed Ila's eyes weren't on him. They were on me again. When the reception began to thin out, I found myself alone in the back corner, stacking chairs. Isla appeared beside me. "Do you always volunteer for cleanup duty?" she asked. "Sometimes it's better than making conversation." "Then I guess I should leave you to it," she said, though she didn't move. "You're not from around here, are you?" I asked. "Not really. Grew up near Brighton, moved around a lot. My brother's been here for a while, though." Gestured vaguely toward Rowan. "And now you're part of our family." Her smile was small, but knowing. Something like that. Marianne's voice called my name from the other side of the hall, and Isla stepped back. "Enjoy the rest of your evening," she said, before disappearing into the shadows of the hallway. When the music finally wound down and most guests had left, I was standing near the doorway watching the stragglers leave. Isla emerged from the kitchen, jacket over her shoulders. She glanced at me one last time, not smiling this time, just looking. "Good night," she said softly. "Good night." I told myself I was imagining it, that nothing about tonight meant anything more than polite conversation. But as I carried the last stack of chairs to the corner, I caught her reflection in the window. Gosh. She was still watching me from across the room, and she didn't look away. Asterisk, the countryside house was quiet after midnight. I was lying in bed, the wooden beams above me faintly visible in the moonlight. A floorboard creaked outside my door. I sat up listening. Another step slower this time. "Hello?" said silence. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, crossed to the door, and opened it. The hallway was empty, shadows stretching along the walls. I stepped out, glancing toward the staircase. Nothing. moved, the wind rattled a loose pane somewhere in the house. I almost convinced myself that was all I'd heard when it came again. A whisper my name, I froze. Is someone there? No answer. The air felt thicker now. I closed the door and locked it, trying to steady my breathing. I lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Half an hour later, just as sleep started to pull me under, there was a knock, soft. 3 times. I didn't move. The knock came again, lighter, almost hesitant. I pulled the blanket higher, eyes fixed on the door. It stopped. Morning sunlight spilled across my face when I woke. The lock was still in place. I got dressed and headed to the kitchen. She was there. Isla stood at the counter in a loose sweater, hair falling over her shoulders. She was pouring coffee like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said, not looking at me yet. "Morning," I replied. She slid a mug across the counter. "No, you sleep like the dead, don't you?" I studied her. "What makes you say that?" She smiled into her cup. "Just wondering. I walked past your room last night. Thought I heard you moving. I took a sip. You were up late. Couldn't sleep. The countryside's too quiet for me." Funny, most people like it for the quiet. I'm not most people. Eyes flicked up, holding mine for a beat before she turned back to the counter. Marianne walked in, cheerful and oblivious. "Coffee smells amazing. Did you sleep well?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I meant it. "Yeah, fine. Good," Marianne said. "Rowan's making breakfast, so grab a seat." Ella brushed past me on her way to the table. Her arm grazed mine. "Excuse me?" she said softly. Rowan's voice called from the kitchen doorway. "Callum, give me a hand with the plates." I followed him in, glancing over my shoulder once. Isla was watching. While we carried the plates out, Marianne and Isla were talking about plans for the day. I caught fragments. Hiking, visiting the old market, normal things. When Marianne turned to pour juice, Illa's eyes met mine again. She tilted her head, almost imperceptibly, toward the hallway. After breakfast, everyone drifted into different parts of the house. I lingered in the dining room. Footsteps approached. "You're quiet this morning," Isla said. "Did you knock on my door last night?" I asked. Her lips curved slightly. "Why would I do that? You tell me?" She stepped closer, her voice low. "If I wanted to see you, I wouldn't knock." "Then what was it?" She shrugged. "Maybe you dreamed it. I didn't." Her eyes stayed on mine. "Then maybe you should ask yourself why it matters." So much. Before I could answer, Marianne called her name from the living room. Illa walked away without looking back. The rest of the morning passed in polite conversation. I tried to focus on anything else, but my mind kept circling back to that whisper in the afternoon. I went for a walk in the fields behind the house. The wind carried the sound of the trees swaying, but in my head, still heard her voice from the night before. When I returned, Isla was sitting in the sunroom, book in hand. "Nice walk?" she asked without looking up. "Yeah," she turned. "A page? See anything interesting?" I hesitated. "Depends on your definition of interesting." She glanced up, a small smile playing on her lips. "We should talk sometime. Just you and me." "When?" "You'll know." That night after everyone had gone to bed, I lay in the dark, listening for the creak of the hallway floor. For a while, there was nothing but the ticking of the old clock downstairs. Then, faintly, footsteps again. I sat up, heart pounding. A shadow moved under the door. There was no knock this time, just a pause. And the shadow shifted, and the footsteps retreated. I waited another hour before sleep finally claimed me, unsure whether I wanted it to happen again or never at all. The movie was playing, but I barely registered it. Marianne and Rowan were on the couch opposite me, laughing at a scene I hadn't even noticed. Isla slid onto the seat beside me, a little too close. Our knees touched almost instantly, crowded. "In here," she murmured. "There's plenty of space," I said, shifting slightly. She didn't move away. "Maybe I like it better this way." Marianne looked over. "You two all right?" "Fine," I replied quickly. Isla reached for the popcorn, bowl on the coffee table. "Pass it," she asked, holding my gaze. I handed it over. Her fingers brushed mine and stayed there just a second too long before she pulled the bowl back. "You missed the best part," Marianne said to me, grinning. "I'm keeping up," I lied. Isla leaned in, her shoulder pressing against mine. "He wasn't watching," she whispered, her hair brushing my cheek, too busy pretending not to notice me. I forced my eyes back to the screen. "You're imagining things, am I?" she asked softly. Rowan laughed at something on screen and tossed a comment toward Marianne. The two of them seemed in their own world. Isla shifted slightly so her thigh rested against mine again. Every time she reached into the popcorn, her arm grazed me. "You really don't like sitting still, do you?" I muttered under my breath. "Only when I'm next to you," she said. Halfway through the movie, Marianne got up to refill her drink. Rowan followed her into the kitchen. The moment they were gone, the air between us felt heavier. "You're making this difficult," I said quietly. "Am I making you uncomfortable? I'm not sure what you're making me." She smirked. "That's the fun part." The sound of glasses clinking in the kitchen reminded me my sister was just a few steps away. I took the popcorn from her and set it back on the table. "You're going to get caught." "Maybe I want to." Marianne returned and flopped down beside Rowan. Isla shifted back slightly, leaving a thin space between us. But her knees still brushed mine from time to time. When the credits rolled, Marianne stretched and smiled. "Early start tomorrow. We should all get some rest." I nodded, grateful for the chance to step away from whatever game Isla was playing. The hallway, as everyone was heading to their rooms, she slowed beside me. "Sleep well," she said softly. "You too." I closed my bedroom door and leaned against it. Trying to calm the pulse in my neck, I changed into a t-shirt and sat on the edge of the bed. Thinking about how easily she had pulled me into her orbit, pulling back the blanket, I noticed something odd. A small folded scrap of paper rested against my pillow. I unfolded it. 3 words, written in neat handwriting. "I can't sleep." I stared at it for a long moment before setting it on the nightstand, sliding into bed. I told myself to ignore it, but my mind kept replaying the warmth of her leg against mine, the feel of her hair brushing my cheek, and the way her voice had lowered when it was just for me. Sleep didn't come easily. The creak of my door woke me. I kept my eyes closed, my breathing steady. Soft footsteps moved across the floor. The mattress dipped beside me. "You're awake, aren't you?" Her whisper was close, almost playful. I opened my eyes. "What are you doing in here?" "Couldn't sleep. You have your own room, I know." She tucked her knees under her. "But it's quiet in here. Feels different." I sat up slightly. "If someone sees you, they won't." "You sound very sure I am." She tilted her head, studying me. "You're not going to tell me to leave?" "I'm still deciding." Her mouth curved. "That's not a no." "What do you want, Isla? To talk? Maybe? About?" "What?" She glanced toward the window where the moonlight cut across the floor. "Family gatherings. How they make me feel like an extra piece that doesn't fit. You seemed fine yesterday." "I'm good at seeming fine." I leaned back against the headboard. "So you sneak into people's rooms when you feel out of place? Only yours? It doesn't make sense." "It does to me." "Is this a game to you? Does it feel like a game?" she asked quietly. Her tone caught me off guard. "Do you sound serious?" "Maybe I am." "What do you want me to say?" "Ever you're thinking." Thinking this isn't a good idea, she smiled faintly. "That's not the same as not wanting it." A silence settled between us. I could hear the faint hum of the old radiator. "I thought you didn't like the countryside because it was too quiet," I said. "Sometimes quiet is exactly what I need." Her hand shifted on the blanket, close to mine. "I don't think you came in here just to talk," I said. "Maybe not." Her fingers brushed against mine, light as a breath. My pulse quickened. "You should go." "You don't sound like you mean that." "I do." She studied me for a long moment. "You're different from the others." "What others?" "People who don't notice things. You notice everything." "I wish I didn't right now." She laughed softly, though there was no humor. "In it? You think I'm trouble?" "I know you are." Her hand lingered near mine, not quite touching. "You can tell me to leave," she said. "You wouldn't listen." "Probably not." We stayed like that, sitting in the dim light. "Why?" "Me?" I asked finally. Her voice lowered. "Because you're not supposed to be." That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. "You realize this is going to end badly?" "Everything does." Leaned back slightly, eyes still locked on mine. "I like being here. It's almost morning. I'll go before anyone wakes." "I don't want you to get the wrong idea," I said. "And what idea is that?" "That I'm okay with this." She tilted her head. "Aren't you?" Hesitated. "That's not the point. It's exactly the point. You're married into my family now? That doesn't make me blind?" Her fingers grazed mine again, more deliberate this time. "You're crossing a line," I said. Quietly, then stopped me. I pulled my hand back slightly, though not all the way. "You should go." She nodded slowly, but didn't move right away. "You're harder to read than I thought. That's intentional. I'll figure you out." I doubt it. She stood, the mattress lifting as her weight left it. At the door, she paused. "You could have stopped me from coming in." "Didn't know you were here until you were already sitting down." She smiled faintly. "That's not true." When the door closed, I lay back, staring at the ceiling. The scent of her perfume lingered in the air, faint but impossible to ignore. Sleep never came back. The smell of coffee hit me before I reached the dining room. I stepped in and saw everyone scattered around the long table. Illa sat at the far end, head down, stirring tea she probably wouldn't drink. Marianne waved me over. "Sit, we saved." "You some eggs, Lila?" Sitting beside her, smiled warmly. "Morning, Callum. You're late." "I like to let the crowd thin out first," I said, taking the seat across from her. Strategic, Lila laughed. "Avoid small talk until everyone's half awake. It works most of the time." Her hand brushed mine as she passed the salt. "Do you work in the city?" "Sometimes," I said. "Depends on the week." "I love the city, but the pace is exhausting." "Which is why you're here." "Partly. Marian begged me to come for the weekend." Across the table, I felt the weight of a stare. I glanced up and caught Isla looking straight at me. The moment our eyes met, she shifted her gaze back to her cup. Lila leaned in slightly. "And you like it here? It's familiar?" "That's not really an answer. It's the one I've got." She laughed again, her fingers tapping lightly on the table. "You two are loud for this early," Marianne teased. "We're just catching up," Lila said. "You've never met before," Marianne pointed out. "Then we're starting fresh." Lila replied. I felt that gaze again. Lila wasn't blinking this time. Lila reached for the orange juice and poured some into my glass without asking. "You look like you need it." "I do," I admitted. Her hand rested on my forearm for a second. Longer than necessary. That's when Isla's voice cut through the chatter. "Callum," she said suddenly, "could you pass the butter?" It was sitting right next to her. "You've got it in front of you," I said. "I didn't notice." I slid it across the table. She didn't thank me, only looked back at Lila with a faint, unreadable expression. Marianne launched into a story about a neighbor's runaway dog, but I barely heard it. The air between the three of us was pulling tight. When breakfast wrapped up, people started drifting toward the living room. Lila lingered. "You're not much of a talker, are you?" "I talk when there's something worth saying." "I think that's why I like you." As she turned away, I stepped into the hallway. Illa was leaning against the wall near the stairs. "You like her?" she asked without looking up. "That's not your business." Her eyes flicked to mine. "It is if you're doing it in front of me." I wasn't doing anything. "She was touching your arm." She talks with her hands. "You didn't." "Stop her." "Why would I?" She exhaled sharply. "You're impossible." I moved past her toward the stairs. "Maybe stop looking so hard." "I wasn't looking," she called after me. "You were staring." Silence followed me up the steps. The day stretched on with small distractions. Ran with Marianne. A long walk in the cold air, but her voice stayed with me. By dinner, I had almost convinced myself it wouldn't come up again. That night I was reading in bed when I heard the knock. Soft, 2 taps. I didn't move. A pause, then another knock. I set the book down but kept my eyes on the page. The sound faded. No footsteps, just silence. When I awoke the next morning, the first thing I saw was the silver ring on my desk. Thin, simple, catching the light. I knew it was hers. Asterisk, the house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. I had been heading to the kitchen for water when voices drifted from the den. I stopped. Rowan's tone was low but sharp. "You're pushing it, Isla." Her voice followed, soft and deliberate. "I'm not pushing anything. I'm trying to keep this from getting worse. You don't get to decide that. If I don't, he'll find out." My grip tightened on the doorframe. Rowan's chair creaked. "Then you'd better make sure he doesn't. That's why we have a deal. We had an understanding. That's not the same thing." "Call it what you want," she said. "I don't. You need to hold up your end." He let out a short laugh without humor. "You think you're the only one with something to lose?" "I know what you stand to lose," she said quietly. "I know you'll keep quiet. Don't bet on it." Her voice dropped even lower. "He can't know, Rowan. Then keep him out of it." Footsteps followed. I backed into the shadow of the hallway as Rowan brushed past, his jaw set, eyes forward. He didn't see me. I waited until the sound of his shoes faded before stepping closer to the den. Isla was still inside, her hands resting on the back of a chair. She lifted her head. "You can come out." I walked in slowly. "What was that about?" She blinked, then shook her head. "It's late. You should be in bed." "I just heard you didn't hear anything." "I heard enough." Her lips tightened. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it." She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "Not here. Tonight isn't the time." "Why not?" "Because you'll take it the wrong way. There's a right way to take secret deals with my brother-in-law." Her jaw clenched. "Stop. You don't understand." I stared at her for a long moment. "Make me." She didn't answer. Instead, she left the room without looking back. I stood there until the clock in the hallway struck midnight back in my room. I sat on the edge of the bed, the conversation looping in my head. "He can't know." The words sounded worse each. A knock broke through my thoughts. "Come in," I said. The door opened slowly. Isla stepped inside, closing it behind her. Her eyes were red. "I need to talk to you," she said. "Now you want to talk?" "I didn't before. I do now." "Why?" She took a shaky breath. "Because I can't stand you thinking the worst of me." "Then tell me the truth." She moved to the chair in the corner but didn't sit. "Rowan isn't who Marianne thinks he is." My stomach knotted. "What does that mean?" "It means he's done things she doesn't know about." "What?" "I can't tell you." "Then you came in here for nothing." Her eyes flickered with frustration. "I'm trying to protect her by making secret deals with him." Her hands tightened into fists. "It's not like that." It sounded exactly like that. She stepped closer. "If I tell you more, you'll go to her. That'll blow everything apart. She's in danger. She deserves to know." "She's not in danger." "You're sure?" "Yes." I studied her face, searching for a crack in the calm. "You sound rehearsed." "I'm not. It feels like you've practiced this." Her shoulders stiffened. "I'm telling you the truth." "No," I said. "You're telling me just enough to keep me quiet?" Her breath caught. "Why would I lie to you, you tell me?" She took a step back, her gaze dropping to the floor. "You think I'm playing you?" "I think you're not telling me everything." Silence hung between us. Finally, she said, "Believe what you want. Just stay out of it." I shook my head. "That's not happening." She looked up, eyes shining, but unreadable. "Then you'll ruin her life. Or save it." Her lips parted, but no words came. She turned and left without another sound. The door clicked shut. I sat there in the dim light. The silver ring from the night before still on my desk. I picked it up, rolling it between my fingers, wondering if it meant more than I thought, if she had left it to distract me from the truth. Rain pounded the roof so hard it drowned out my thoughts. The lights flickered once, then the house went black. I sat on my bed, phone flashlight casting a dim glow, when a knock came at the door. Yeah, it opened slowly. Isla stepped in, hair plastered to her face, clothes dripping. "What happened to you?" I went outside, needed air. In the middle of this storm, I had to think. About what? She didn't answer. Her hands trembled and I noticed her teeth chattering. You're freezing, I stood, pulling a hoodie from my chair. Put this on. She hesitated before slipping it over her head. Thanks. Sit down before you collapse. She perched on the edge of my bed. I'm fine. You don't look fine. She let out a shaky laugh. You sound like you care, maybe. I do. Her eyes flicked up to mine. You shouldn't. Why not? Because I've made this complicated enough. How? She exhaled slowly. I've been drawn to you since the wedding. I stared at her. You're joking. Wish I was. I sat beside her. You married into this family, Isla? I know. My sister? I know. Her voice cracked. I didn't plan it. It just happened. I searched her face. When, the night of the rehearsal dinner, you made some stupid joke, and I laughed so hard I couldn't stop thinking about you? That's not enough to do this. Not just that. Every time you're in the room, it feels like I can't breathe. I shook my head. Do you hear yourself? Yes, she leaned in slightly. And I'm not asking you to feel the same. But that's the problem. Her lips parted, but I forced myself to lean back. Except I heard you and Rowan. Her expression froze. What? I was in the hallway last night. I heard you talk about a deal, about keeping quiet, about me not knowing. You don't know what you heard? I know exactly what I heard. Right. Her eyes flashed. You think you can put a few sentences together and know the truth? I think I can tell when someone's lying. She stood abruptly. What you're talking about then, tell me. Her hands balled into fists. No, that says enough. Her voice rose. You're impossible. I'm impossible because I want the truth. You're impossible because you think you deserve it. I do deserve it, especially if it's about me. She took a step toward the door. Stay out of it. Not happening. Her jaw clenched. Then she yanked the door open and disappeared into the dark hallway. I sat there, heart pounding. The rain hammered harder, thunder shaking the walls. Then over the storm, voices rose from downstairs. At first I thought it was Rowan, but then I heard Marianne. Are you serious? Marina, she shouted, her voice breaking. How long have you been hiding this from me? I stood, moving to the doorway. Rowan's voice came low and defensive. You're blowing this out of proportion? Out of proportion? Marianne's tone cracked. You've been lying to my face. I told you. It's not what you think. Then explain it. Silence followed, tense and heavy, before she spoke again. I can't even look at you. I took one step into the hallway, but my pulse held me back. Another voice cut through us. Marianne, please, don't say my name. Right now, I was trying to protect you, like keeping secrets with my husband. It's not like that. Then what is it like? No. Answer came. Only the sound of the storm filling the space where truth should have been. I gripped the door frame, the hoodie she'd worn, still warm from her body, and wondered if this night was the point of no return. Asterisk sunlight pushed through the blinds, cutting lines across the mess in the living room. A suitcase sat open on the couch. Isla was folding clothes without looking at me. Where's Rowan? I asked. Gone. Gone where? Or maybe I do. Or maybe I do. Either way, it doesn't matter. It matters to me. You made your choice last night. That's not fair. Hands didn't stop moving. Life isn't fair. I stepped closer. You're not even going to explain? What's the point? So I don't keep thinking I'm crazy. You're not crazy. She glanced at me, then went back to folding. You just didn't want to see it. See what? That you were already in too deep. I shook my head. You think walking out fixes anything? It fixes me. You think leaving is strength? It's survival. I moved in front of her. Then survive here. I can't. Not with you watching me like I'm a choice you regret. Not what I is. She zipped the suitcase. I felt it every time you looked away. I looked away because I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. She stood straight. You could have chosen me. I had to choose my sister. Her eyes softened for half a second, and that's why I can't stay. Isla, she stepped closer, so close I could feel her breath. You could have chosen me, but you didn't. I froze, her perfume, mixed with the faint scent of rain still clinging to her hair. For a moment, it felt like she might close the distance. Instead, she pulled back and grabbed the suitcase handle. That's it? I asked. That's it. I followed her to the door. If I find out Rowan's been lying, you'll do what? Save me? Yes. Her lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. You can't save someone who's already walking away. The door opened. She didn't look back. The sound of the latch clicking shut was louder than it should. Have been weeks past? The house felt different, lighter in some rooms, heavier in others. Marianne started smiling again. It wasn't the same smile she'd worn before all this. We were in the kitchen one evening when she said it. I should tell you something. I set down my glass. What? It wasn't just her? My chest tightened. What do you mean, Rowan? He was with other women, not just Isla. Multiple. I gripped the edge of the counter. You're sure? I saw the messages. The receipts. Everything. I wanted to ask why she hadn't told me sooner, but her face said enough. She'd needed time to decide which wounds were worth reopening. I'm sorry, I said. You don't need to be sorry for him. I'm sorry for you. She nodded once. I'm stronger now. I'm not looking back. That's good. Should do the same. I didn't answer. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind outside. My mind kept going back to the storm, to her knock on my door, to the way she'd stood there, soaked and shaking like she wanted me to pull her in and never let her go now in the quiet. I wondered if I should have. Or if locking the door tighter from the start would have spared us both. The rain started again, soft against the glass. I closed my eyes, but the knock was still there. My head in my chest like a question I'd never stop hearing.